Good evening and welcome to our first webinar during the COVID lockdown period. As many of you may be aware that MoneyLife Foundation was busy in providing healthcare relief material to our COVID warriors, and hence we could not conduct webinars earlier, but here we are again. So today's webinar is on the RTI, that is for everyone who wants to be empowered by the Right to Information Act, or a kind of refresher for those who are already using RTI Act and want to use it more effectively to get proper information from the public authorities. But before that, a few words about MoneyLife Foundation, which is, as you may be aware, that it is a year-old NGO. The Right to Information Center is a project launched by MoneyLife Foundation in September 2017 with an aim of spreading awareness on RTA Act and to bring forth more transparency and accountability in the governance. The RTI Center of MoneyLife Foundation consistently conducts seminars, workshop, events, and programs in colleges, institutes in and around Mumbai and Pune for spreading awareness about the Act. Our speaker today, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, has a unique distinction of being the first RTI activist to have been appointed as the Central Information Commissioner. Mr. Gandhi was part of the National RTI movement, which was involved in drafting the National Act. He was convener of the National Campaign for People's Right of Information. Over the years, he has used the RTI and also trained many citizens and government officials, especially the public information officers, in over thousands of workshops that he had conducted. He is passionately pursuing the cause of evolving ways for a time-bound justice delivery system and improving governance systems. He is also the author of RTA Act, Authentic Interpretation of the Statute. Today, Mr. Gandhi will guide us about the fundamentals of the RTA Act, basics of filing an RTA application, and how the Act can be used to your advantage for any government-related matter. So if you have any questions, then kindly wait till Mr. Shailesh sir completes his presentation. We'll then take all your questions. Before I hand over the session to Shailesh sir, here are a few instructions for all participants. We have kept all of you on mute during the session for the benefit of every participant. So we will unmute you during the question and answer session. For optimal viewing, we request everyone to keep the webinar on speaker view mode. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/moneylifetv. During the question and answer session, please use the raise hand button available on Zoom if you wish to ask any questions. Over to you, Shailesh sir.
Thank you very much for this opportunity of interacting with everybody. And I'm happy that so many of you are joining to learn about RTI. So we're going to have a conversation really about what is right to information. We say India is the world's largest democracy. I was taught in school that democracy is rule of the people, for the people, by the people. Ask yourselves, is it your rule? Do you really believe if you go to a government office, you feel like a ruler of this nation? The answer is obviously no. But then, how is this a democracy if you are not a ruler of this nation, if the citizens of India are not rulers of this nation? We say we got Swaraj in 15th August 1947. But in a Swaraj, you are the ruler. Swaraj is the same thing as democracy. You should feel like the Badshah or Begum of India, which most of us don't. Then are we a democracy is a question. Forget the world's largest democracy. Are we a democracy at all? And in countries where there are democracies, there are countries where government officers respond with respect to citizens. And this is what a true democracy should mean. Democracy has essential parts, a right to vote and to be able to change governments and elected representatives by the system of voting. We have that. And therefore we say we are a democracy. Having a constitution and a system of elections are necessary conditions for a democracy, but are not the complete set of conditions. The heart and essence of democracy is the concept that each individual citizen is a sovereign in her own right, and she gives a part of the sovereignty to the state in return for which she gets the rule of law. Sovereignty of the individual, har nagrik ki badshahi ya begamiyat, is the key and is the essence of democracy. Without that, there is no democracy, there is no human rights. Human rights also, that's a fundamental, that a human being deserves respect because he or she is a human being. Without that, human rights are meaningless. It is not merely not committing atrocities or not beating up somebody. It is about respecting the individual, which is the true essence of democracy. Now, what has right to information got to do with it, you might ask? I would submit to you that right to information is the key to opening a real, true democracy. When government officers believe that they have to give information to citizens of their government, it is our government, we own the government, you own the government, so do I. And the government has to give us information which belongs to us. Where did this start? The first law worldwide was enacted in Sweden on 2nd December 1776, nearly 250 years back. After that, for about a century and a half, almost no country had such laws. In the last century, now we have over 120 countries which have such laws worldwide, and they are known by 3 different names. Freedom of Information, FOI, Access to Information, ATI, and Right to Information, RTI. These are all synonymous words for the same right which are accepted worldwide. In India, the first declaration that right to information is a very necessary part of democracy and is part of the citizen's right was made by Justice Mathew in 1975 in the Ran Narayan versus Indira Gandhi case. After that, a series of Supreme Court judgments have recognized that right to information is a fundamental right of citizens flowing from Article 19(1)(a). Some judgments have also said that they also flow from Article 21, the right to life. So this is a fundamental right of citizens about which we are discussing. This right belonged to us the day the Constitution of India was made, 26 January 1950. But then what are we talking about? Why did we wake up so late? We had a right which was not codified. So right was there. If you had to go to a government office and say, give me information because it's my right, the question is who has to give you information? In how much time is the information to be given to you? This was not specified. What the Right to Information Act does is it codifies our fundamental right. Without that, you cannot implement it. It is like saying the Supreme Court has held that right to speedy justice is a fundamental right of citizens. But it's a right which is violated every day in the courts of India. So unless you have a codified right, it is very difficult to implement this. Having said this, now we'll move on to understanding some of the provisions of the Right to Information Act. But remember this, you are the owner of India. You own India. Everything in the country, every government thing is owned individually by each one of us. And that is true. Now we'll take a look at some of the provisions of the law. I'll just try and share my screen where my presentation is there. The Right to Information Act was passed by Parliament in May 2005 and became effective from 12th October 2005. 12th October, incidentally, in 2005 was Vijayadashmi. It's a very significant day. Nobody designed it like that, but it just happened because of the flow of the way the law worked. This empowers every citizen to get information about the working of the government and other public authorities as a matter of right. Let's look at the preamble of this law. And we are going to look at the provisions of this law because once you know the provisions of this law and have understood this, you internalize this law. And once you internalize this law, you are able to use it very effectively and appropriately. The preamble of the law is worth looking at. The preamble is the heart and soul of a law. The Indian Constitution preamble is something that we all swear by. Let's hear the preamble together. Whereas the Constitution of India has established democratic republic, and whereas democracy requires an informed citizenry and transparency of information, which are vital to its functioning, and also to contain corruption and to hold governments and their instrumentalities accountable to the governed. And whereas revelation of information in actual practice is likely to conflict with other public interests, including efficient operations of the governments, optimum use of limited fiscal resources, and the preservation of confidentiality of sensitive information. And whereas it is necessary to harmonize these conflicting interests while preserving the paramountcy of the democratic ideal. This is expected to curb corruption, to make information available to citizens, and the Parliament was aware that there will be some difficulties in implementing this. And these difficulties have been taken into account when passing this law. Therefore, the law harmonizes these conflicting interests. It is not for individuals to harmonize these, because some people have argued that that means everybody is going to harmonize, which is the wrong interpretation of the law. What is information? Information means any material in any form, including records, documents, memos, emails, opinions, all that is given there. And information relating to any private body which can be accessed by a public authority under any other law for the time being in force. What is the meaning of this latter part? Any private body you cannot directly access information from because they are not in the ambit of the Right to Information Act. But information which they submit or have to submit to government bodies. As an example, cooperative societies, normal housing cooperative societies are not covered by the RTI Act. But information that they give to the Registrar of Societies can be accessed from the Registrar of Societies. A simple thing I want to explain to you, this is something very vital to understand. Information is what exists. If it does not exist, it is not information. This is right to information, not right to interrogation. If you ask and say, supposing I apply for this job, will I get it? The PIO will say there's nothing on record, because there will be nothing on record to say if Mr. X applies, what should happen to his job application. Or if you ask what's the meaning of this law, unless there is a record available in which it is stated, information would not be given to you. Another example I'd like to give to you is, supposing there is a building which has been constructed illegally on a plot of land and there is no record available of it. Even if the PIO can see the building, if you ask, I want to, is such a building existing? The answer is there's nothing on record. Information is what exists on record, and this is very important to understand. Do not try and convert it to a right to interrogation, because then you are not using the law at all. Who has to give information? The law says public authorities have to give information, but who's a public authority? Public authority means any authority or body or institution of self-government established or constituted by or under the Constitution, by any other law made by Parliament, by any other law made by state legislature. A, B, and C effectively cover everything that we call government. State government, central government, panchayats, municipal corporations, municipalities, all these are covered. Also, there are bodies which are created by a law made by Parliament or state legislature. As an example, the Sikh Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee has been created by an act of Parliament. That is a public authority. By notification issued or order made by the appropriate government. As an example, deemed universities are created by notification issued by the government. Therefore, they are also public authorities. And includes any body owned, controlled, or substantially financed. Non-government organizations substantially financed directly or indirectly by funds provided by the appropriate government. There's a lot of controversy nowadays about the PM CARES Fund. They are saying we are not a public authority and will not give information, which is absurd. They are definitely a public authority by law. It is a body controlled by government. The Prime Minister and 3 or 4 other ministers are ex officio trustees of that trust. They represent the government. They are supposed to control the organization as representatives of the Indian government once they are ex officio there. Therefore, what they have taken is an illegal position. However, I must share with you, the earlier Prime Minister's Relief Fund also claimed that they were not a public authority and were not subject to RTI. Ultimately, they had to accept when the commission decided that they are a public authority. But one thing I have found, everybody likes transparency for others, not for themselves. If substantial finance is given to a body, it is a public authority. If a body is owned by government, for example, all your private sector, all your public sector banks, are owned by government, or there is control. As an example, if a cooperative society is under administrator, it is actually controlled by government and therefore it's a public authority. What is right to information? Right to information means the right to information accessible under this Act, which is held by or under the control of any public authority and includes the right to inspection of work, documents, records. Information must be under the control of a public authority or being held by a public authority. And you can inspect work, documents, and records. One young student, Krishna Gupta, said, I want to inspect a public hospital. So he went and inspected a public hospital and discovered some things that were not correct, and I believe changes have occurred there. You can inspect government files. You can go to an office and say, I want to inspect files relating to ABC. Taking notes, extracts, or certified copies of documents or records. This is what is generally done. I must point out, when you go and inspect a file, you must have some domain knowledge to be able to understand the file and to be able to understand what the information is. Taking notes, extracts, or certified copies of documents is what 90% of the RT applications do. They get photocopies or extract from some information, and that is normally considered as right to information. Taking certified samples of material is also part of right to information. For example, if you believe the drugs in a particular hospital, in a government hospital, are of poor quality, you can get samples and get it tested outside. If you believe the food grains are of poor quality, you can take food grain sample from the godown and get it tested. Or concreting work has been done. In fact, people have taken core of road. That's an expensive proposition, but they take a core and then analyze whether the road is made as per the specifications or not. Obtaining information in the form of diskettes, floppies, tapes, video cassettes, etc., in whichever form it is, including CCTV footage. And CCTV footage now can be a very vital source of information because a lot of public places have got CCTV. Therefore, that is also public. That is also part of the right to information. The most important section is Section 3. Subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. Who can get right to information? All citizens of India. Can any information be refused? It's vital to think of the philosophy of this. If I am the ruler of this nation, everything belongs to me, to each one of us. Therefore, on what grounds should something be refused to me? While I was talking like this in a college, one young student got up and said, Mr. Gandhi, if I own the nation, that's what you are saying, that's what I was saying, then everything in the government belongs to me. I said, yes. So he said, supposing I like a car in the government, or I like a plane with the government, I like the Rafale jet, let's say, can I take it home? The answer is no. Why can I not take it home? If I own it, I should be able to do what I like. Yes, the individual owns it, but it's in partnership with 130 crore Indians. Therefore, you can't take it home. But by the same logic, all the information in the computers, files, cupboards of the government belongs to you individually. And if that information is given to you, it does not deprive anybody else. Therefore, the default mode is all information is your ownership and you will get it. However, it is considered necessary to exempt certain information from being given because it is the philosophy is that certain harm would occur to some people or to the nation, which should not be allowed. Therefore, provisions of this law under section 8 and 9 spell out what information shall not be given. Nobody can say this is confidential, hence I will not give it. This is sensitive, hence I will not give it. We have not taken a decision, hence I will not give it. Wrong. Only the provisions of this Act can be used to prevent information from being given to you. Section 4 is the heart of the RTI Act. Unfortunately implemented very poorly. And one thing I must share with you, the Indian Right to Information Act, when it was enacted, was rated as the second best act as per provisions by international agencies. Today they rate it as 5 or 6 because subsequent countries, some have come out with slightly better provisions. But having studied the law, I can tell you with confidence, the Indian RTI Act is one of the best transparency acts in the world. But we are very poor in implementation. We'll think of that later. This says every public authority shall maintain all its records duly catalogued and indexed in a manner and form which facilitates the right to information under this Act and ensure that all records that are appropriate to be computerized are within a reasonable time and subject to availability of resources, computerized and connected through a network all over the country on different systems so that access to such records is facilitated. All records must be duly catalogued, kept, indexed, etc., etc. Yes. But I would like to focus on the second part of this. Computerized, there are computers in almost every government office across the country. Reasonable time, 15 years have elapsed. It should have happened by now. Resources are not a problem. Today the government gives tablet computers to students in municipal schools. And connected, there's a wide connection of data transmission from one place to the other. Right now, all of us are connected through network itself. If paper files were banished, a common experience is that a citizen goes to a government office to look at his complaint or to find out about his application and is told file nahi milta hai. 100 रुपया दिया तो फाइल मिल जाएगी, 500 रुपया दिया तो रिकॉर्ड बदली हो जाएगा, 1000 रुपया दिया तो रिकॉर्ड चेंज हो जाएगा, 2000 दिया तो शायद फाइल गायब हो सकती है. And if adequate money is paid, there can be a fire in Mantralaya which can destroy a lot of files. Or as is being reported, they say Nirav Modi's files in the income tax department, termites have eaten them. Udai kha jata hai. 30% of India's corruption takes place like this. This can go away if we work only on a computer. This was a promise of the law which has not been followed by government. And citizens must insist that this must happen. If this happens, physical travel of files would be finished. Corruption would go down because any record that is changed in a computerized system can be caught by later date, and who changed it can be found out. And we spend a few thousand crore rupees on paper, files, and space to keep these files, all of which need not happen. Files should be generated only digitally and transferred digitally. If that happens, giving information would also be simple. And the way I visualize it, at the end of every day, every work of a government office should go up on the web and be available to anyone to see as to what work was done in the government. But this is a dream which can happen if enough citizens start demanding this. Within section 4.1b, there are 17 sections which specify specifically information that must be provided suo motu. You are the owner of this nation. You are the ruler. Ideally, you should not have to ask for information. It should be available suo motu on the computers, on your mobile phones, on the web, on walls of, incidentally, in some villages, walls have been painted to implement the RTI Act, and various information of importance to that village is painted there. A study had been done which found that 50% of the RTI applications seek information which should be available under Section 4. That is what actually should happen, but we are far from it. Fair enough, we know a public authority has to give information. Who should I ask for the information? The law says every office of every public authority, I repeat, every office of every public authority has to appoint a public information officer. And if the office is very, very small, then they can appoint an assistant public information officer whose job is only to collect RT applications and send it to the public information officer. The citizen must only think reasonably, where is the information likely to be? If you believe that the information is likely to be in X office, address your RT application to the public information officer in that office of a public authority. There has to be a PIO. How do I know the name of a PIO? You don't have to bother. That's not your problem. You just address your RT application to the public information officer at a particular office or public authority. There has to be somebody, the application has to be taken. How do I give it? You can give it personally by taking a photocopy and getting an acknowledgement. Alternately, you can send it by speed post, or you can also do an RTI online. In Maharashtra and the central government, RTI online facilities are available. Some states don't have it, some states have it right now. These are the various ways in which you can do this. The public information officer's job it is to get information from within the office or within the department and give it to you. He cannot say it's with the other officer, therefore you go there. No. Also, supposing you made a mistake, you thought the information is available, likely to be available with the municipal corporation, but actually the information is available with the police. Can the PIO return your application and say, sorry, I don't have this information? The answer is no. The law requires him to transfer it within 5 days to the appropriate department's PIO. You are the ruler of this nation. Start believing this. You really are a ruler. If you act as a ruler, you will start believing it. You will have people treating you like a ruler. When I say you are the ruler, it does not mean the public servant is below you. The public servant is also a citizen of India and is a ruler like you. It's a negotiation of equals. That's the point I'm making. A person who desires to obtain any information under this act shall make a request in writing or through electronic means in English or Hindi or in the official language of the area in which the application is being made. You can make your RT application in English, Hindi, or the official language of the state. For example, in Maharashtra, it will be Marathi, Gujarati in Gujarat, Tamil in Tamil Nadu, and so on and so forth. The information may be provided in the language being used by the office, and it can be any one of these three. You cannot insist that I give my RT application in English, therefore I must get the response in English. That's not on. An applicant making request for information shall not be required to give any reason for requesting the information or any other personal details except those that may be necessary for contacting him. Many government officials and many people with power find this very irritating. They say, why should people get information without asking, without giving the reason, without any reason, why should you ask for information? Why should we give information? The reason is very simple. Because you own the information, you do not have to give a reason. In your house, if you have to open your cupboard 100 times, you don't have to give a reason why you want to open it 100 times. It is yours. Information belongs to you, and officers who do not understand this do not understand the basics of democracy. On receipt of a request under Section 6, PIO shall as expeditiously as possible, in any case within 30 days of the request, either provide the information on payment of such fee as may be prescribed or reject the request for any of the reasons specified in sections 8 and 9. Very categorically, it again repeats and says, within 30 days, information must be given to you on payment of such fee, I'll come to that, or reject the request for any of the reasons specified in sections 8 or 9. Denial of information can only be justified based on section 8 or 9. Section 9 deals with copyright infringement. For example, if you ask censor board for a copy of DVD of a film, they cannot give it to you because it would infringe the copyright of the filmmaker. Apart from that, section 8 is the only one. Section 8 has about 400 words and you should read it repeatedly. We'll come to section 8 and we'll discuss this. 8.1 tells you what information shall not be given. Otherwise, all the other information belongs to you and must be given. If a PIO fails to give decision on the request for information within the period specified, which is 30 days, PIO shall be deemed to have refused the request. If within the 30-day period he does not give you information, it is a deemed refusal without any reasons. And this would invite the penal provisions of the law. If the RT application has been transferred to another department, as I mentioned earlier, 5 days are allowed for that. The period is 35 days. And for the RT application, there is generally a fee. Maharashtra has 10 rupees, central government has 10 rupees. Most states have 10 rupees, but some have 20 rupees and so on. In Maharashtra, the simplest way of paying the fees to take a court fee stamp and stick it on your RT application. Where do I get a form? Somebody asked me. You don't go anywhere to take a form. There is a format which Maharashtra government, for example, specifies. Gujarat has a different format. Based on that format, you make your application. It can be handwritten. Any plain piece of paper is your application form. You can handwrite it or type it or take a computer printout. All these three are valid. Once you give it, your legal right starts getting implemented. PIO must give details of further fees representing. What is this further fee? Supposing the information is 200 pages. The rules specify, again, this differs from state to state, but Maharashtra and the central government, the rule is 2 rupees per page. So supposing the information is 200 pages, the PIO can charge you 200 multiplied by 2, 400 rupees. And he gives you details of further fees representing the cost of providing the information as determined by him together with the calculations. He must give you a calculation saying it is so many pages, therefore you pay so much money. He cannot just say pay 500 rupees or 700 rupees. In accordance with the fee prescribed under subsection 1, requesting him to deposit that fees, and the period intervening between the dispatch of the said intimation and payment of fees shall be excluded for the purpose of calculating the period of 30 days. I'll just explain it in the next slide, which will make it very clear. Person making request for the information shall be provided the information free of charge where a public authority fails to comply within the time limits specified in subsection 1. If within 30 days information has not been provided to you, even if the information is 1,000 pages, the PIO cannot charge you 2,000 rupees, but has to give the information free of charge to you. 30-day period I'd like to explain. When you make your draft your RT application is not day one. Day one is when the PIO's office receives your RT application. After X days, let's assume PIO sends letter asking additional fees, saying the number of pages is 75 pages. Please pay 75 into 2, 150 rupees. 30-day clock stops. Additional fees paid. Supposing it takes 4 days for you to receive the letter, and after 8 days you go and pay the fee. This period, the 30-day clock is frozen. Information sent after Y days, X plus Y less than or equal to 30 days. If RT application is transferred, they get 35 days. Now, we get a little deeper into the right to information and its philosophical basis. Right to information is a fundamental right of citizens under Article 19(1)(a), which guarantees freedom of speech and expression. Various Supreme Court judgments have held that this includes the right to information and right to publish. Therefore, please carefully look at it like this. Freedom of speech, right to publish, and right to information all are at par. In fact, I'd like to submit to you, why is the right to publish so important? Why is media considered so important? People say it's the fourth pillar of democracy. Why is it so important? It's a business like any other business. The reason why right to publish or media is important is because it is a medium through which citizens are informed. Because it is a medium through which citizens are informed, the right to publish is a fundamental right. Obviously, my right to information cannot be lower than that. It has to be on par, if not higher than the right of media to publish. Therefore, we must look at all these three as equivalent: right to speech, right to information, and right to publish. Now, can any restrictions be put on my fundamental right? Article 19(2) defines its restrictions that can be reasonable restrictions that can be put. The only permissible restrictions are given in Article 19(2), which permits reasonable restrictions in the interest of the sovereignty or integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation, or incitement to an offense. I'd like to draw your attention to two of these words, decency or morality. We talk of privacy. In my opinion, the right to privacy, because of right to privacy, you can deny information only if it violates decency or morality. These are the only two words that you can relate with privacy. And these restrictions have been converted into Section 8(1) of the RTI Act, which we will now study. Notwithstanding anything contained under this Act, there shall be no obligation to give any citizen A. Information disclosure of which would prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security, strategic, scientific, or economic interests of the state, relation to foreign state, or lead to incitement of an offense. As an example, suppose the Indian Army is a public authority and has to give information in RTI. If you said, I want to know how many troops are there on the border with China, this information would not be given to you because it would hurt the nation's security. Similarly, if you ask for some information which may lead to commitment of communal violence, that kind of information would not be given to you. Information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal, or the disclosure of which may constitute contempt of court. Read 8(1)(b) carefully. Quite often, PIOs refuse to give information saying the matter is sub judice. Wrong. That is not as per law. They are acting illegally. The law categorically states expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal. Therefore, if anybody denies information claiming exemption under 8(1)(b), point out that please show me the order of the court or tribunal which prohibits disclosure. Without that, you cannot deny information. Sub judice is no longer a matter of for denying of information. Information has to be provided to you. C. Information, the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of parliament to the state legislature. What kind of information would this be? For example, budget papers cannot be given to you before the budget is presented because that would be breach of privilege of parliament or state legislature. Another thing is inquiry commission reports. The Commission of Inquiry Act specifies that within 6 months of the report being given to the government, it has to be placed on the floor of the parliament or state legislature as applicable. Therefore, let's say if a Commission of Inquiry report has been submitted and within 3 months it has not been placed before parliament or state legislature, and you ask for a copy of the report, that could be denied to you using 8(1)(c). However, and this is common, quite often in the result of a Commission of Inquiry report is not convenient to a government, they just put it under the cupboard and forget all about it and don't present it to parliament also. In such cases, after the period of 6 months is over, you must ask for it and you must get it because they cannot claim any further breach of privilege. Breach of privilege of parliament or state legislature has already occurred by not giving the information, by not putting the report on the floor of the parliament or the assembly. 8(1)(d). Information including commercial confidence, trade secrets or intellectual property, the disclosure of which would harm the competitive position of a third party. There's a larger public interest clause which we'll deal with later. 2 conditions will be satisfied to fall under 8(1)(d). Information should be in the nature of commercial confidence, trade secret or intellectual property, which is information which is not normally shared publicly. And it must hurt somebody's competitive interest. If that cannot be shown, information has to be given. As an example, Bank of India can claim exemption for some of the information saying that it would hurt its competitive interest. Indian Railways cannot because Indian Railways has no competitor. 8(1)(e). Information available to a person in his fiduciary relationship. What's the fiduciary relationship?
I think there is some issue with the connectivity with Sherish sir, and he'll be shortly back with us.
Information available to a person is fiduciary relationship. What's a fiduciary relationship? A traditional fiduciary relationship is doctor-patient, lawyer-customer, bank-customer. What are the characteristics of this? You go and give information to your lawyer for your benefit. And the lawyer can only use that information for your benefit. He cannot go and share it with anybody else. You have a choice of whom to go to. You can choose your lawyer, your doctor, your banker. In most cases of government records with government, you have no choice. You have to give it because you want something from the government. Therefore, most 95% of the records in government are not held in a fiduciary relationship. Then why is this there? Of course, you will choose a fiduciary to give information because you have trust in such a person. That is obvious. But there is no law requiring you to give information. Most information on public records are not held in a fiduciary relationship. Then why is this clause there? Supposing you have an account with the State Bank of India, and I go and say I want information about your details of your account. That is held in a fiduciary relationship by State Bank of India, though it's a public authority. Similarly, a government hospital, supposing I go to a government hospital and you ask for medical records, that is held by the government hospital in a fiduciary relationship. Information received in confidence from foreign government. If information has been given by a foreign government and it is claimed that it is given in confidence, then information shall not be given. This is the only place in the RTI Act where the word confidence or confidentiality or sensitivity has been used to describe some information which shall not be given. But this will apply only to information given by a foreign government. On the basis of this, the Indian government had refused to give information on the Rafale deal because they claimed some of the information was given by the French government in confidence to the Indian government. Information, the disclosure of which would endanger the life or physical safety of or in assistance of information or assistance given in confidence for law enforcement or security purposes. Supposing you have given information about a mafia don and somebody seeks that and that would identify who gave the information. This kind of information would be denied because it would endanger somebody's life or physical safety. 81J. We'll have to go one slide up. Okay. 81H. Information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. When an investigation is ongoing, can information be refused? Quite often it is being refused. But is it legal? Parliament used the word impede the process of investigation. Therefore, when information is refused during an investigation, the PIO has to show how giving the information is likely to impede the process of investigation. Just because an investigation is ongoing, information cannot be refused. And in 70% of the cases, people who are seeking information about investigation are people who have made a complaint. And PIO refused to give it, saying this will impede the process of investigation, which is an absurd argument. The person who's filed the complaint is unlikely to impede the process of investigation. 81I. Cabinet papers, including records of deliberations of the councils of ministers, secretaries, and other officers, provided that the decisions of the councils of ministers, the reasons thereof, and the material on the basis of which the decisions were taken shall be made public after the decision has been taken and the matter is complete or over. This is a unique exemption. Look at it carefully. Cabinet papers and records of deliberations of councils of ministers are exempt until a decision is taken. Once the decision is taken, there is a liability on the government to make it suo motu available to you, shall be made public after the decision has been taken. For example, if a bill is presented in Parliament or state legislature, until the bill is presented, the decision and papers relating to it are exempt. Once the bill is presented to Parliament, the law requires that the details should be made public so that citizens can discuss about the pros and cons of such a law or the provisions of such a law. Parliament and state legislature are supposed to reflect our desires. It's not an independent body which rules over us. 81J, this is the most popular exemption of all. Understand this carefully. Information which relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest, or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. Public interest overload we'll deal with later, provided that the information which cannot be denied to the Parliament or a state legislature shall not be denied to any person. If it is personal information, it may qualify. All personal information is not barred as per this clause. The disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest. Most public records are created because of a public activity. They are not a private activity. But then why is this clause there? Supposing a raid is conducted somewhere and some personal papers are taken away, that is not a public activity, that was a private activity. Supposing my phone is tapped and I'm talking to my wife, that conversation is not a public activity, that's a private activity. Or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. What is privacy? Now, it is not very easy to define what is privacy. Therefore, when drafting the law, a proviso was provided here only for this clause, provided that the information which cannot be denied to the parliament or a state legislature shall not be denied to any person. Whoever denies information claiming exemption under 81J, Public Information Officer, First Appellate Authority, Commission, or judge must make a declaration that in my belief, I would not give this information to parliament or state legislature. Without that, denial is illegal. Therefore, if information is to be denied under 81J, the PIO must say it is personal information. The disclosure has nothing to do with any public activity. It is unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. And I would not give this information to parliament or state legislature. Without this declaration, the decision is not as per law. 8.2. Notwithstanding anything in the Official Secrets Act, nor any of the exemptions permissible according to subsection 1, a public authority may allow access to information if public interest in disclosure outweighs the harm to the protected interest. There is no need for any public interest to get information. Information belongs to you. However, if one of the exemptions applies and you argue that there is a larger public interest in disclosure, exemptions are to prevent certain harm to certain interests, which must be in accordance with Article 19(2) of the Constitution. However, even if it is exempt, if you show that there is a larger public interest in disclosure, it may be permitted. To give a concrete example, supposing you ask Punjab National Bank for details of the transactions with Nirav Modi's companies, they could perhaps say that it is exempt because it is under fiduciary relationship with the client. However, you could argue that since there is a major fraud that has been committed, this information must be made available as per section 8.2. Public interest is not necessary unless an exemption exists. If you concede that an exemption exists, then a larger public interest could be used to justify disclosure of information. Section 11.1, where a public information officer intends to disclose information or record or part thereof on a request made under this act, which relates to or has been supplied by a third party and has been treated as confidential by that third party, the PIO shall, within 5 days from the receipt of the request, give a written notice to such third party of the request and of the fact that the PIO intends to disclose the information or record or part thereof, and invite the third party to make a submission in writing or orally regarding whether the information should be disclosed, and such submission of the third party shall be kept in view while taking a decision about disclosure of information. If information relates to a third party, a citizen, supposing you applied for a job, information relates to you, it is third party information. If the PIO comes to a conclusion that this information is not exempt, he must give the third party an opportunity of hearing by saying, I intend to disclose this information. But it is not a veto given to a third party. Such submission of the third party shall be kept in view while taking a decision. The view has to be taken by the PIO based on the exemptions under section 8.1 or 9 only. Supposing you ask for a DVD, the PIO does not realize it's copyrighted. He will ask the third party will say, look, it's copyrighted. Then the PIO will have to change his stand and say, yes, oh yes, there's a copyright. Therefore, the information shall not be given. Third party is not an exemption. Many PIOs treat third party as an exemption. Therefore, it is necessary to understand exemptions are only in section 8 and 9 of the law. Section 19, appeal. First appeal to First Appellate Authority within 30 days. For not getting information, incomplete information or wrong information. If you're not satisfied with the PIO's response or the PIO has not responded at all, you should file a first appeal within 30 days. First Appellate Authority should decide in 30/45 days. He gets 30 days to decide after giving you a hearing, but he can take an additional 15 days. If result of first appeal not satisfactory, file second appeal to the Commission within 90 days. Section 19(5) says, onus on PIO the denial of information was justified. As far as the law is concerned, you do not have to justify why you want the information. It is up to the PIO to justify why information was denied in an appellate hearing. Section 20 is the teeth of the Act. This is the reason why this Act works. If information denied without reasonable cause, Commission must penalize the PIO or deemed PIO of rupees 250 per day of delay after giving an opportunity of explaining. Maximum penalty rupees 25,000. Commission can also recommend disciplinary action against the officer and compensation to be paid to applicant. This is the teeth of the act. This clause establishes the sovereignty of the individual. It recognizes this is the only provision in the Indian laws where, because one individual's right was not adhered to, was not complied with, a public servant will have to pay a personal penalty from his salary going up to 25,000 rupees. This recognizes your sovereignty. You are the sovereign. You ask for information. Your fundamental right was not fulfilled. Therefore, the public servant shall personally pay a penalty to the exchequer of up to 25,000 rupees. Unfortunately, only commissions can impose the penalty, and most commissioners are very reluctant to impose penalties, which is unfortunate. That is one of the reasons why many PIOs do not give information, though legally they are bound to. Section 22 and 23. Section 22 says, provisions of this act shall have effect notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith contained in the Official Secrets Act and any other law for the time being in force, or in any instrument having effect by virtue of any law other than this act. As far as giving of information is concerned, RTI Act is supreme. It overrides all other laws and rules. Nobody can say as per the law that because of Supreme Court rules, I will not give it to you. Because of this law, because of company law, information cannot be given. Because of Banking Regulations Act, information cannot be given. The RTI Act is supreme as per Section 22. Therefore, it becomes a very citizen-friendly act because nobody can claim otherwise you would have to know so many laws. When you use RTI, you know to know only the RTI Act. 23. No court shall entertain any suit, application, or other proceeding in respect of any order made under this Act, and no such order shall be called in question, otherwise than by an act of an appeal under this Act. The final appellate authority in this Act is the Information Commission. Unfortunately, a lot of these decisions, some of these very good decisions are challenged before courts, which is not as per the law. The courts say it is writ jurisdiction. There is a difference between writ jurisdiction and appellate jurisdiction. In most cases where the courts listen to a case against the Information Commission's order, the court is being actually approached in appellate jurisdiction, but it's just labeled as writ jurisdiction. This is something lawyers in particular must pay some attention to. Briefly describing the procedure, RT application, information in 30 days. If no information provided on satisfactory response, first appeal to be filed within 30 days of response or 60 days in case of no response. First appellate authority, order after hearing within 45 days. If unsatisfactory order or no response, second appeal to commission within 90 days. This is a format for Maharashtra. As I said, you need to go nowhere to take a form. This story, which is very famous, and it's a good liner to explaining how to file an RT application. Your name, etc. has to be given as per this format. This story goes back to 2006. There's a young boy from a small village in Vidarbha who came to Mumbai to find a job. Where did he stay? He stayed with an uncle of his in a hut in some slum. He went around trying to locate contacts through whom he could get a job somewhere. A RTI workshop was going on, something like what we are doing just now. He sat down, understood what is right to information, understood that he doesn't need to get a form, understood that he can pay an application fee of 10 rupees by taking a 10 rupee court fee stamp and sticking it on the paper. Any piece of plain paper is an application. He needs to only follow the format, which he did. He also understood that within 30 days he must get information. Critically, he understood what is information. Information is what is on record. When he understood all this, he moved on. He got a job. And then he needed something, a ration card. So he went to the rationing office, gave his application. As he was going out of the door, the peon stopped him and said, "Do you want a ration card?" He said, "Yes." Usliye to form bhare. The peon said, "Chai pani lagega." This boy said, "ठीक है, आपको चाय पिला दूंगा." The peon said, "नहीं, चाय पिलाने की बात नहीं है. 2000 रुपए देना पड़ेगा तब तुमको राशन कार्ड मिलेगा. This boy, without batting an eyelid, said, मैं घूस नहीं दूंगा. I shall not give a bribe. The peon shrugged. He said, stupid chap coming from a village bumpkin, you don't know मुंबई में कैसे हाथ होता है. तुम जाओ तुमको राशन कार्ड की जरूरत नहीं है. He waited 3 months, continued with his job. He didn't do anything on the ration card side. And after 3 months, he drafted this RT application. He understood very carefully. What he wanted to know is, when will I get my ration card, or why have I not got my ration card? But this is the way he framed it. I'd given an application for a ration card on 5th August 2006. Photocopy of receipt attached. I want the following information about its progress in the following format. Date on which application received, name and designation of the officer receiving it, action taken, date on which forwarded to next office. There will be as many rows as number of officers who had the complaint, who had the application. Attested photocopies of all letters and notings will be provided. 2. I want a list of ration cards issued in the last 2 months, giving the dates on which the applications were made and the dates on which the ration cards were issued. He found out that everybody was paying 2,000 rupees and getting their ration cards in about 40-45 days. This is information which should be on record. What could they tell him? That the application has not moved at all since Chai Pani nahi diya 2,000 rupees ka. That would have exposed them. If they had given the list of ration cards issued in the last period, it would have been evident that this man was not given a ration card only for reasons of corruption, which would have been very damaging. Therefore, next day, the peon went to his house and said, "Samne bulaya tumhe." He went to the rationing office, and the officer, as soon as he saw him, said, "Arey, inke liye kursi leke aao. Inka ration card le aao aur ek cup chai aur ek gilas pani le aao." He did not give chai pani, he got chai pani instead. And that one cup of tea, according to me, was respect to the sovereign citizen of this country. Citizen empowerment is the way to go. And that is the respect that this young boy from Vidarbha got. One more application I'd like to explain to you. This is my own RT application. On one fine day in 2006, I opened the newspaper, and the front page of the newspaper had a big photograph of citizens demonstrating at Marine Drive, protesting because one police constable, More, had raped a minor. On the same day, on page 5, I read a small news item. The small news item said, one police inspector, Prakash Avre of Mumbai Police, had raped a minor the earlier year. Evidence was clear. Prakash Avre was suspended from service and case was filed against him. In the court, they were not able to establish the case and the court acquitted him. And this news report said that Prakash Avre was being reinstated in service. When you read something like this, we feel angry. All of us feel angry. I said, what can I do? So I decided to use right to information. And I said period to which information relates last 1 year. According to a news report in the Times of India dated 29th April 06, Inspector Prakash Avre is accused of raping a minor girl in September 2005. He was acquitted by the Sessions Court in February and has been reinstated in service. I want a Xerox copy of the order reinstating him, along with the file notice based on which the decision was taken. I was only asking for a record. I didn't say, why do you do him? Why do you take him? You must not take him. Nothing like that. Just asking for a record. And what happened? This is a first appeal also. I want to explain to you how to file a first appeal. This is the format. Grounds for appeal. Facts of the case. I had asked for information regarding reinstatement of Inspector Prakash Avre as per the attached application, which I had attached. PIO first sent me a letter stating that the information would be provided by Bhaikala Police Station. PIO Bhaikala replied by his letter of 16/5 that the information could not be provided as it was exempt under Section 8(1)H, which exempts information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Grounds for appeal. The PI has not shown how providing the information could impede any investigation. In fact, no investigation is being held since Prakash Avre has been reinstated. The rejection is with any basis in law. The first appellate authority was a very good deputy commissioner of police. He called me for a hearing. I went for the hearing. He said, Mr. Gandhi, at that time I was not a commissioner, I was just an ordinary citizen. He said, Mr. Gandhi, what can we do? The court has released him. So I said, from my perspective, sir, I'm only asking for a record. You give me the record. There's no exemption that applies. From my perspective, I said there are two possibilities, sir. Either Prakash Avre is guilty of the crime he's alleged to have committed. In that case, reinstating him is a great disservice to citizens and to the police force itself. Alternately, Prakash Avre was innocent. If he was innocent, somebody framed him. Somebody has to be responsible. It just cannot be that nobody is responsible. The DCP saw the point and he said, Mr. Gandhi, let me see what I can do. In 20 days, they sent it to me in writing that Police Inspector Prakash Avre had been dismissed from service. That is the power of right to information that any one citizen can exercise. Any ordinary citizen sitting in your own house can exercise this. And it has a very powerful impact. Does this happen every time? The answer is no. In this case, there was a very good police officer, but good government servants also need support from citizens. We need to support good servants so that they can do the right thing. To curb corruption, to curb illegalities, there are no better monitors than citizens of India. And if you monitor the government will become better. That is a given. This is a summary for central government. No specified format for applications and first appeals. Useful to use a Maharashtra format. Application fee ₹10. Most convenient to attach Indian postal order ₹10 for central government office. Court fee stamp is not valid. No fees for appeals for central government. For second appeal, please check rules at cic.gov.in. Online RT application can also be filed, and the first appeal can also be filed at this web address. Now, let me come to the end of this. Does every RT application lead to some change? The answer is no. I would be wrong if I said that. My overall experiences shows that about 30% of the RT applications lead to some change. Sometimes the information may not be given, but change occurs in the administrative process, or people say that next time around such a thing must not occur because it will get exposed. Sometimes the information is given and some wrongdoing is exposed. You get a result positive because you had applied for, let's say, a water connection not being given. You file an RT application asking for progress. This ration card case has been replicated for income tax department refunds, for ration cards, for complaints, and variety of other things. Everywhere the same story. What is the progress of my complaint? What is the progress of my application? Gets you this result. But only 30%. Plea before all of you is, a survey of mine shows that all Indian citizens crib for about 3 hours every month. Or what is wrong? The government is wrong. Police is like this. The chief minister is like this. रास्ते में खड्डा है, pollution बहुत है, कुछ होने वाला ही नहीं है, etc., etc. Does anything change because of that cribbing? Nothing can change. If you do something, there's some possibility of a change. And as I told you, my overall experience is 30% cases, some small change occurs in the government. Here's a plea. If 30 lakh Indian citizens take a vow, then once a month they will file one RT application about a matter that they are concerned about. 3.5 crore RT applications would be filed in a year. If 1 crore RT applications result in some small change, in 5 years, Indian democracy will be at a different level. You can do it. You are the ruler of this nation. If you are the ruler, you have authority, you have rights, you also have duties. No ruler says, I'm the ruler, I will not bother, and somebody else is responsible. The political class is responsible, the minister is responsible, the police is responsible. You are responsible. Individually, you are responsible to understand and to make the change that you want. One place where I was giving this talk, right now, of course, you can't interact with me, but in a normal live talk, one gentleman about my age got up and said, Mr. Gandhi, ये बातें बहुत सुनी है. I filed so many complaints, I filed so many RT applications, कुछ होता ही नहीं है, कुछ बदलता नहीं है. Nothing will change in India. कुछ बदलेगा ही नहीं. इंडिया में कुछ चेंज हो ही नहीं सकता है. सब भ्रष्ट है, मिनिस्टर ऐसा है, मिनिस्टर ऐसा करना चाहिए, पुलिस को ऐसा करना चाहिए, etc., etc. To them I say, many of us Go to mandirs, masjids, girjaghar, agyaris, derasars once a day, once a week, maybe once a month, maybe once a year. When you go there and come out, do you have an extra 100 rupee note in your wallet? No. Do you feel you become more handsome, more beautiful, hair that you had lost has come back? Nothing like this happens. Then why do we do it? We do it as an act of faith. We have faith that by doing this, something good will happen to me, my family, my friends, my city, my nation. What do we do for the nation as an act of faith? Zero. Let us try this as an act of faith for the nation. And in this case, you can see a logical connection that there is a possibility. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm not saying we should not go to temples, masjids, etc. We can do that. But just as we do that as an act of faith, why don't we try this as an act of faith for the nation itself? Unless we do something, India will not become better. If we want to make India better, we'll have to do something. Patriotism, a lot of people talk about. Patriotism is not merely raising the flag, singing the national anthem. These are tokens, useful symbols of patriotism. But real patriotism is when you feel that I want to change India, I will make my nation better. And you can. Do it individually also. Just try with one RTI application once a month about a subject that concerns you. Don't worry whether you got the information. Don't worry about whether it brought a change or not. Guaranteed, 30% of these, somewhere in that region, will bring some change. And we can bring the change in India that we want and make India the nation that we feel like India should be. Mera Bharat Mahan, a lot of places it's written, people say, but most of us don't believe it, do we? Therefore I say, Mera Bharat Mahan nahi hai. Mera Bharat Mahan nahi hai, par ye dosh mera hai. I, the individual sovereign citizen of this nation, am responsible. Nobody else is responsible. Nobody else is going to come. The leaders will not. If we wait for leaders and see us, India will never really change and improve at the pace that we wanted. But if you and I make the effort, we will be able to make that change. And then we'll have a nation we'll be proud of. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.